my name's Cureton, Senior Journalist for XR Today, and we're bringing you the latest and greatest from the XR, VR, and AR industry. So for today, we have on a very special guest, Dr. Brad Quinton, CEO and Chief Technology Officer for Singulos Research, which is a Canadian research firm developing mixed reality visual comprehension tools. So thanks for joining us today, Brad.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, good to hear. Good to hear. And so, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to just dive right into your company's Perceptus AR platform, which I think contains some remarkable tools that could redefine computer visualization across the XR industry.
Well, thank you.
So, before we get into the big portion of it, I wanted to know if you could tell us a little bit about the history and background of your company and what you're currently doing professionally.
Sure, I could definitely do that. So Singulos has been around for 3 years, and we've been focused the whole time on this problem of giving AR and XR applications the ability to understand objects in the world. At the same time, before that, I've been working in the high-tech industry for over 20 years now, doing many things, but all often around mobile hardware, edge hardware, and of course, AI. And so that's really been our focus, and we're really excited about some of the new ideas and discoveries we've made around this problem, and all the excitement around the whole XR space.
Nice. And you also have quite a bit of history with some of the world's biggest tech brands. Could you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, basically for the last almost 15 years, I've been starting companies, very technology-focused companies, and then eventually selling them to some big companies like Tektronix, and the most recent one I sold to Qualcomm, of course. There's a big presence in mobile and the XR space.
Nice. So yeah, now we can talk a little bit about Perceptus. So I saw some of the demos online and I was really intrigued by them. And I wanted to know, what was the inspiration for creating it? What was your inspiration for creating the Perceptus AR solution? And for you, what kind of problems did you try to resolve? What did you want to innovate by creating this solution?
Sure, that's actually a really funny question, because it all came from sitting with my son, and we were sitting in front of a bunch of Lego building blocks, and he asked me, "Can you build a giraffe?" And I said, "Well, I'm sure we could, but I don't have the instructions. Plus, I don't really know what pieces we have right here." And without hesitation, he was like, "Well, why can't my iPad do that?" And it was funny because I was teaching AI at UBC at the time. So I really did ask myself, why can't the iPad do that? Why? And it's funny how kids are so natural with technology. It just seemed obvious to him. But as I really started thinking about why can't this work, I started to realize that the kind of classic computer vision algorithms, like object detection, just weren't going to give the AR experience that clearly my son had imagined could happen right then and there. And so the more I thought about it, the more I thought it was just a very interesting and important problem. I roped in a bunch of people I'd started companies with in the past and started getting them excited about the problem, and we went from there. But the really fundamental problem we want to solve is giving AI that visual context to truly understand what's around us using images, rather than just trying to understand the images themselves.
Right. And on your website, you also feature quite a few of the different kinds of demos that you have for Perceptus. Could you take us a little bit through like some of the different kinds of things you wanted to do in your demos? There's about, I think, 4 of them listed on there.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, and the demos are really meant to be just that, demo. So we sell a platform, and we're trying to say, well, you can think up your different application ideas. But what we wanted to highlight was different concepts. And so in the building blocks demo, right, the idea is a proactive AR application that looks at what your physical reality is, and then uses a whole bunch of techniques that computers are really good at, database searches, optimizations, to suggest different builds that are appropriate for you in your specific time and place. And so we think that's a very important part of giving a visual context to an AR system. So the other thing that you see in that demo is the idea of building virtual versions of physical things. So we actually construct, let's say, a cow, and you do it using the bricks and colors you have available. So without actually having to build it, you can actually see what it would look like in the end. And so that's important too, because now you can go through and you can search and you can optimize physical spaces by using virtual objects. And so we think that's a very powerful concept. Moving on to the furniture building demo, that one is a maybe more obvious case, but it's a case where computers and AR systems are good at keeping track of details, right? So it's no problem for a computer to make sure you have exactly the right number of screws and bolts and nuts. But it's something that people find quite painful, right? And almost everyone we talk to has tried to build some furniture at home and run into the problem of, why do I have this last dowel? There's one left. Where does it go? And so the idea, again, is that if you could have these intelligent, proactive AR systems, they would be the person, they would be the assistant that does some of these challenges that are not particularly easy for humans to do. And the final one is the chess demo. And that one's really about playing with this idea of sharing overlapped physical spaces. So in the chess demo, only one side of the board has physical pieces. The other side of the board has virtual pieces. But those virtual pieces could be physical pieces in someone else's physical reality. And so you can imagine then by really understanding physical objects in my reality, I can align them to virtual or other people's physical objects. And so you can have an overlapped new reality that's made up of two different physical realities working together. And so that's just a neat new concept. And so although it sounds like a whole bunch of high level details, it all comes down to you could play board games with your friends anywhere in the world, and you'd still get to move your pieces and you'd still get to roll your dice. And we just think that would be fun.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I think we tried a little demo of it and playing virtual chess with each other, and it was quite profound the way it worked out, because it's almost like you can take your real world environment, merge it with the game itself, and say, for instance, we're playing using a pair of AR smart glasses. Whenever Meta decides to come out with its own, you could actually play.
We finally get them. But yeah, no, absolutely. I just think that's such a neat idea. And I think it hasn't been explored very much yet. I think there's many more things to come that we haven't even conceived once we have the base tools for everyone to start developing with.
Yeah, I was curious also, do you think that you would have any particular industry-wide use cases for such technology? Because I know that as it becomes more complex, you find new types of environments that you could, approach with Perceptus. There's quite a wide range of different types of ways that you could use this throughout the industry. Could you name maybe a couple of them that could possibly apply?
Yeah, I mean, so there's, as you say, it's kind of hard to bound it because it's, the idea is arbitrary general objects. So it's essentially everything. But I think some more obvious use cases are, retail and advertising is a very obvious one. Right? You can imagine if you could walk into a sports store, look up at the wall of running shoes, and you're automatically given reviews, you're automatically given discounts maybe, and even you automatically know the inventory in that store, right? So that would really change that whole environment of how you would interact in a retail setting. But then the possibilities really range all the way to educational apps. I mean, it would be extremely fun to imagine that you could use physical objects on a desk at school to trigger and bring up videos or virtual projections or even games that helped make some concepts in history or math real in the sense that you can touch and feel things, but bringing in all of the massive information that's available online. So that's a couple of them. I could probably talk for all the time we have about different ideas. So
No, it's pretty good. And one of the things I noted from previous interviews and from research is that there's a high degree of learner retention whenever they use these types of tools, like especially any XR tools, which could have some very useful insights for future applications, especially.
I totally agree. I mean, I think I teach at a university, and really one of the things I really focus on is learning is about context, right? So you need to tie the new thing to what you knew in the past. And I think that's one of the reasons you see XR excelling in the education space. It's because you can try to ground new concepts in the physical world or the world that the people know. So.
Absolutely. Just quickly to ask you maybe this one question. I was curious to know a little bit more about the difference between AI recognition and AI understanding. This is something that Perceptus definitely touches on when it, especially when it's in action. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so the way that we think about it is that the classic definition of recognition, or sometimes it's called detection in computer vision, is to say, well, where is something in an image? Which could be interesting, but when we think about comprehension, we're trying to say, where is the object in the world? Where is it in the 3D world? What is its orientation, and how does it relate to all the other objects that are in the 3D world? And one of the things that's so important about that is that understanding of the world or of objects is independent of the camera position. Right? So if you think about, if you're discovering where an object is in an image, then it's highly sensitive to where the camera is with respect to that image. But if you're understanding where an object is in the real world, it's still in the same spot no matter how you have observed it. And so especially for the AR case, where you expect the user to move arbitrarily and frequently, you really need to have an understanding of objects that's independent of the camera perspective. But there are definitely applications like, tracking license plates for toll bridges, where you don't need that, right? You know where the camera is, you know where the car is, so that's a place where you could see that recognition is sufficient.
Yeah, that's a good case. And I just wanted to know, is there anything else that you'd like to add, or maybe tell us about Singulos research and where it plans to go in the near future?
We're just really excited to start talking. We've been talking actually now to a lot of AR developers, and just trying to build a platform that lets people explore these new ideas and get them out there. One thing that's I find very exciting about where Perceptus is at today is that although we're going to be ready for the glasses, we can run on the iPad, we can run on Android, so we can start working on these applications, and people can start having experiences right now as we all wait for this coming future where we have some better hardware to really go hands-free.
Nice. Well, yeah, I guess that wraps it up. But yeah, thanks so much for sharing those insights.
Okay, well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Okay, great.
All right.
So once again, this has been
Take care.
Dr. Brad Quinton, CEO and CTO for Singulos Research. If you guys enjoyed today's conversation, please like, share, and subscribe to our content so that you can always be kept in the loop. Feel free to also spread the word on our conversations from XR Today with the XR News hashtag on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So once again, this is Cureton from XR Today. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a good one. Bye for now.